So my computer froze, so this will be part two of this week's lecture concerning time. I'm going to try to merge the two videos together so that it's only one video, but it might just be part two. So just know that this is just a continuance of the time chapter two. So back to the goals. We just finished watching the video, which I believe was helpful in giving you different ideas of achieving goals. But I still want to go to where the book and just highlight what the book says as well. So setting and achieving goals. Many people have no goals or have only vague idealized notions of what they want. They are wonderful, fuzzy, safe thoughts such as I want to be a good person, I want to be financially secure, or I want to be happy. So, general outcomes such as these have potential as achievable goals. When we keep these goals in a general form, however, we may become confused about ways to actually achieve them. So make your goal as real as a finely tuned engine. There is nothing vague or fuzzy about engines. You can see them, feel them, and hear them. You can take them apart and inspect the moving parts. Goals can be every bit as real and useful. If you really want to meet a goal, then take it apart, inspect the moving parts, the physical actions that you will take to make the goal happen and fine tune your life. There are many useful methods for setting goals. You're about to learn one of them. This method is based on writing goals that relate to several time frames and areas of your life. Experiment and modify as you see fit. So, write down your goals. Writing down your goals greatly increases your chances of meeting them. Writing exposes undefined terms, unrealistic time frames, and other symptoms of fuzzy thinking. If you've been completing intention statements as explained in the introduction of this book, then you've already had experience writing goals. Both goals and intention statements address changes you want to make in your behavior, your values, your circumstances, or all of these. Write specific goals. State your goals in writing as observable outcomes or measurable results. Think in detail about how things will be different once your goals are attained. List the changes in what you'll see, feel, touch, taste, hear, be, do, or have. Suppose that one of your goals is to become a better student by studying harder. You're headed in a powerful direction. Now translate that goal into concrete actions such as I will study 2 hours for every hour that I am in class. Specific goals make clear what actions are needed and what results are expected. Consider these examples. So a vague goal would be get an education. A more specific goal would be graduate with a BS degree in engineering with honors by 2021. Another vague goal would be get good grades. Specific goal would be earn a 3.5 grade point average next semester. So as you can see, it's just like the video. It does state here to be specific with your goals. The more specific you are with the goal, the more chances are that you are going to reach the goal. So write goals in several time frames. To get a comprehensive vision of your future, write down the following. There are 3 time frames: long-term goals, mid-term goals, and short-term goals. Long-term goals represent major targets in your life. These goals can take 5 to 10 years to achieve. In some cases, they would take a lifetime. They can include goals in education. Careers, personal relationships, travel, financial security, whatever is important to you. Consider the answers to the following questions as you create your long-term goals. What do you want to accomplish in your life? Do you want your life to make a statement? If so, what is that statement? Midterm goals are objectives you can accomplish in 1 to 5 years. They include goals such as completing a course of education, paying off a car loan, or achieving a specific career level. These goals usually support your long-term goals. Short-term goals are those ones that you can accomplish in a year or less. These goals are specific achievements such as completing a particular course or group of courses, hiking down the Appalachian Trail, or organize a family reunion. A short-term financial goal would probably include an exact dollar amount. Whatever your short-term goals are, they require action now or in the near future. So here in this exercise, this is something that you could do on your own and create a lifeline. You would follow these directions, and it asks you to write goals in several areas of your life. So these are the different areas in your life, or maybe you have different ones. So our goals in other areas as they occur to you. Add goals in other areas as they occur to you. So reflect on your goals each week. Take a few minutes and think about your goals. You can perform the following spot checks. Check with your feelings, check for alignment, check for obstacles, check for next steps. And then it says move into action immediately. So these are just ways to keep track of your goals and see if you are doing the activities that you need to do to achieve these goals. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. So as you can see here, it was write them down, make them specific, several time frames, like we said, long-term, mid-term, and short, several areas in your life, like we just mentioned, career, family, spiritual, reflect on them and move into action immediately. So 5 steps of the ABC to-do list. First, ask to brainstorm tasks, estimate time, rate tasks, cross off tasks, and evaluate. Let's go really quick to your chapter again and look at the ABC to-do list. And here it is. So one of the most effective ways to stay on track and actually get things done is to use a daily to-do list. While the time monitor time plan gives you a general picture of the week, your daily to-do list itemizes specific tasks you want to complete within the next 24 hours. So one advantage of keeping a daily to-do list is that you don't have to remember what to do next. It's on the list. A typical day in your life of a student is full of separate, often unrelated tasks. They could be reading, attending lectures, reviewing notes, working at a job, writing papers, researching special projects, running errands. It's easy to forget an important task on a busy day. When the task is written down, you don't have to rely on your memory. So these are the following steps to present one method for creating or using to-do lists. This method involves ranking each item of your list according to 3 levels of importance: A, B, or C. Experiment with these steps, modify them as you see fit, and invent new techniques that work for you. So as you can see, this is not like a rigid, this is the way you must do it. It tells you just to experiment these steps, and if you need to modify them because they're not actually working for you, that the way the exact steps are said to be done, you can invent your own techniques that may work for you. So brainstorm tasks. To get started, list all of the tasks you want to get done tomorrow. Each task will become an item on a to-do list. Don't worry about putting the entries in order or scheduling them yet. Just list everything you want to accomplish on a sheet of paper or a planning calendar or in a special notebook. You can also use a 3x5 cards, writing one task on each card. Cards work well because you can slip them into your pocket or rearrange them, and you never have to copy to-do items from one list to another. Estimate time. For each task you write down in step 1, estimate how long that it will take you to complete it. This can be tricky. If you allow too little time, you end up feeling rushed. If you allow too much time, you become less productive. So for now, give it your best guess. If you're unsure, overestimate rather than underestimate how long it will take you for each task. So overestimating has 2 benefits. It avoids a schedule that is too tight, missed deadlines, and resulting feelings of frustration and failure. And it also allows time for the unexpected things that come up every day, the spontaneous to-dos. So another would be rate each task by priority. To prevent overscheduling, decide which to-do items are the most important, given the time you have available. One suggestion for making this decision comes from the book How to Get Control of Your Time and Your Life by Alan Lakin. Simply label each task as A, B, or C. The A's on your list are those things that are most critical. They include assignments that are coming due or jobs that need to be done immediately. Also included are activities that lead directly to your short-term goals. The B's on your list are important but less than the A's. B's might someday become A's. For the present, the tasks are not as urgent as the A's. They can be postponed if necessary for another day. The C's do not require immediate attention. C's priorities include activities such as shop for a new blender or research genealogy on the internet. C's are often small, easy jobs with no set timeline. They too can be postponed. Once you have labeled the items on your to-do list, schedule time for all of the A's. The B's and C's can be done randomly during the day when you are in between tasks or not yet ready to start a next A task. Even if you get one or two of your A's done, you'll still be moving towards your goals. So cross off tasks. It's important to keep your to-do list with you at all times. Cross off activities when you finish them and add new ones when you think of them. If you're using 3x5 cards, you can toss away or recycle the cards with completed items. Crossing off tasks and releasing cards can be fun, a visible reward for your diligence. These steps fosters a sense of accomplishment. Then there's evaluate. At the end of the day, evaluate your performance. Look for A priorities you didn't complete. Look for items that repeatedly turn up as B's and C's on your list and never seem to get done. Consider changing them to A's or dropping them altogether. Similarly, you might consider changing an A that didn't get done to a B or C priority. Be willing to admit mistakes. You might at first rank some items as A only to realize later that they are actually C's. And some of the C's that lurk at the bottom of your list day after day might really be A's. When you keep a daily to-do list, you can adjust these priorities before they become problems. And when you're done evaluating, start on tomorrow's to-do list. That way you can wake up and start getting things done right away. And then tinker. When it comes to the to-do list, one size does not fit all. Feel free to experiment, tweak the format of your list so that it works for you. So for example, the ABC system is not the only way to rank items on your to-do list. Some people prefer to use the 80-20 system. This method is based on the idea that 80% of the value of any to-do list comes from only 20% of the tasks on the list. So on a to-do list of 10 items, find 2 that will contribute most to your life today and complete those tasks without fail. Another option is to rank them as yes or no or maybe. To all of the tasks marked yes, delete those marked no, and put all of the maybes on a shelf for later. You can come back to the maybes at a future endpoint and rank them as yes or no. So let's go to a video on planning. And this is what this person does, and it just gives you another idea on how to effectively do a to-do list.
Hey, what's up guys? So in today's video, I'm going to go over my entire planning system that I use to get things done. Now, if there's one thing I've learned over the past 6 to 7 years of experimenting with tons of different apps and productivity systems and reading the daily habits of famous people, it's that productivity is a very individual thing. We all have our own little idiosyncrasies and weird quirks and ways that we like to work, so different systems are going to fit different people, and your system might be a weird Frankenstein amalgamation of different systems that you've seen from other people, which mine is. All this goes to say that you don't need to look at my system and think that it needs to be your system, but you might find specific components that work well within the things you're already doing. With that caveat out of the way, I will start this off by showing you that my system has 3 specific tiers. Tier 1, which is for idea capture and organization, Tier 2 for weekly planning, and Tier 3 for daily planning, where all the actual action happens. So Tier 1 I call idea capture because I don't think calling it task capture does it justice. Now in a task management sense, at least to me, an idea is any piece of information that you want to process and take action on later. And that could include a specific task, but it could also include an event or a free-form idea that doesn't exactly have concrete action items attached to it yet, but that you still want to save. Since ideas can take a number of different forms, I use several different apps to capture them based on their category or action type, and then process them as efficiently as I can. So specific tasks or action items go into Todoist, and I've used a number of different to-do managers over the years, like Wunderlist and Productive and all sorts of other kinds of apps, and I've kind of settled on Todoist now because it's very minimalist, it has a clean design, I can use labels to assign contexts, energy levels, or locations to my tasks, and it also syncs between all my different devices. Events will go into Google Calendar, which I've probably been using for 6 or 7 years at this point, and if I'm out and about away from my computer and just have my iPhone, then I use an app called Sunrise Calendar, which syncs nicely to it. Anything that's not a task or an event will go into Evernote, where where I have lots of different notebooks, and I kind of consider Evernote my second brain. It's where all my ideas get stored so I don't have to keep them jumbled up in my head, and then I can process them later. Now, Tier 1 is all about idea capture, so I'm using these apps on a daily basis whenever things come up to capture things quickly, but then I don't really have to mess with them later. On Sundays, I have my planning sessions where I actually take these ideas from all these different Tier 1 systems and figure out what I'm going to do with them in any given week. And I do all of that in my handy EnviroNotes, sustainable, cardboard, not very attractive looking notebook. Now on the current week's page, I put the week's dates at the top, and then I make 3 different sections: events, tasks, and maybe. So events are things that I have scheduled on the calendar, maybe meetings with people or events I want to go to, conferences, things like that, and I'll write them down there to keep them separate from the actual tasks. The task section makes up the bulk of the weekly plan, and it basically holds all the different tasks I want to get done in a given week. And at the top, I always have the video and the podcast because I'm a content creator, but I'll also have lots of little things that just need to get done. And finally, the maybe section holds some tasks that I'm not exactly sure I'll have time to do, but I'd like to get done if everything goes well. And that brings us to Tier 3, which is my daily plan. So when I wake up at 6 a.m. every morning, I come into my office and I look at both the notebook and my calendar, and from that I create a daily plan on my whiteboard. Now, the daily plan is all about action. I want it to drive me through the day and take away all ambiguity over what I should be doing at any given time. To help with that, I try as hard as I possibly can to write the daily plan in the exact order that I want to do the tasks. And I also estimate at what time I should get each one done using a fudge ratio to account for the planning fallacy. And this helps me, with lots of practice, mind you, be able to basically predict how many tasks I'll be able to get done in a given day. Using the time estimates also puts a bit of time pressure on me, which makes me work a bit more efficiently, and that's always helpful. Now, as I go through my day and complete tasks, I'll check them off on the whiteboard, and then once I'm finished with my work for the day, I'll also check off everything I got done in the weekly plan. So hopefully you enjoyed this video and got something out of it. If you've got other planning tips I didn't mention here or want to talk about your own system, then let me know about it down in the comments. Otherwise, I will see you next week.
So as you can see, he also had a 3-tier system on writing his planning for the week. Just like the book has a 3-tier system. Again, it's whatever works for you, but it is handy to make to-do lists. It is handy to have them in some sort of tier level so that you can concentrate on what's more important and leave what's least important to the end. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. So these are just advantages of the ABC Daily To-Do List. You don't have to worry about forgetting something that's important. It helps you get the most important tasks done each day. It reduces stress. It makes it easier to sleep at night. And you can adapt the concept to fit your needs. And again, you can adapt the concept. This is not a stringent, this is the way you must do it. This is just giving you an idea how to get organized and then use whatever works best for you. So using a long-term planner also helps. So find one or make one of your own, enter scheduled future dates, create a master assignment list, include non-academic events, and basically divide and conquer. So a long-term planner will also help you out with your to-do lists. It'll help you reach your goals. And basically, if you're a student and you work and you have all these responsibilities, at the end of the day, the best way to organize yourself and to make sure that you do what is expected of you is to have some sort of planner or some sort of calendar or some sort of list, whether it's written or some app that you have on your phone. Again, whatever works best for you, but something should be done to keep you organized. So now on to procrastination, which is something that most of us do. So it says here to discover the cost, discover your procrastination style, trick yourself into getting started, feelings follow action, choose to work under pressure, think ahead, and create goals that draw you forward. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you a video of procrastination, but it's your job to go into the textbook and read about procrastination. But before we get to the video, I want to get to the 7 steps of anti-procrastination plan. So on Monday, you make it meaningful. On Tuesday, you take it apart. On Wednesday, you write an intention statement. Thursday, you tell everyone. Friday, you find a reward. Saturday, you settle it now. And Sunday, you say no. So for more on these 7 steps, also go to your textbook. That's going to be your responsibility to read that section of the textbook on your own. But I do want to show you a short video on procrastination.
of us are immune. Procrastination sneaks up on us all, some worse than others. In this video, we'll go over the science of procrastination and provide you with actionable advice to overcome it. What's going on, guys? Dr. Jabal, MedSchoolInsiders.com. Piers Steel describes an equation useful in understanding procrastination. He argues that motivation is equal to expectancy times value divided by impulsiveness times delay, whereby motivation is the willingness to do work, which is essentially the opposite of procrastination. Breaking down the equation, expectancy refers to how much you expect to succeed at doing the task and thereby getting the anticipated reward. The more you expect being successful, the less likely you're going to procrastinate on it. Value refers to how much you enjoy doing a task and how much you're going to enjoy the reward. The more value you derive from a task or the reward, the more likely you're going to get straight to work. Impulsiveness refers to your tendency to get distracted by other things. High impulsivity lures you to Instagram or Facebook instead of doing the work at hand. Delay refers to the time lapse until receiving the anticipated reward. The longer the delay, the more likely you are to procrastinate, as you figure it's something you can just take care of later. Now, we want to maximize expectancy and value, as they are directly proportional to motivation, and we want to minimize impulsiveness and delay, as they are inversely proportional. Let's go over actionable steps on how to use the equation to our advantage and overcome procrastination. First, break down the steps. With any task you need to do, whether studying for an exam or completing a project, break it down to smaller steps. Doing so will increase expectancy in our procrastination equation, as smaller tasks seem much easier to accomplish than larger projects. While everyone has a different sweet spot, I find that being hyper-specific with timelines is very helpful for me. For example, if I need to study for an exam next week and I have several lectures and practice problems to go through, I will take a few minutes to think which lectures I should complete on each day, as well as how many practice problems. I input everything into Things 3, which is my personal to-do app of choice, but you should obviously use whatever tool you prefer. You can see an example of a highly structured daily and weekly timeline I created in Excel in my Step 1 study schedule video. This high level of structure works for me and for my personality, but it definitely does not work for everyone. Again, figure out what works best for you. Number 2, keep the task small. The hardest part in getting work done is just starting. One of my favorite study hacks to address this is the Pomodoro technique. In short, you work 25-minute blocks, each separated by a 5-minute break. During each block, you focus on just one small task. In my Pomodoro technique video, I go over in more detail what the technique is and exactly how to use it. This was actually revolutionary for my study habits. I only started using it in med school. And you may be thinking, how does this actually help me get started on my work? Going back to our equation, this increases expectancy. If I sat down to study and I told myself I need to study for 5 hours, I would definitely get distracted very, very easily. But if I instead tell myself I only need to study for 25 minutes on this one little task, it becomes far less daunting. And it becomes much easier to not only get started, but also stay focused for the 25-minute Pomodoro. Number 3, set the bar low. This is yet another trick to increase the expectancy in our equation. Set the goal to something less than what you are actually capable of. I have used this recently for my own meditation practice. When I set out to meditate 20 minutes every day, I only got around to doing it a couple times per week. It just felt like I never had time to actually sit down and do 20 minutes of meditation, so I rarely did. Instead, I lowered my expectations by aiming to meditate just 2 minutes every day. By lowering the bar, I found myself meditating most days, and even though I set the goal as just 2 minutes, I almost always exceeded it. Number 4, hack pleasure from the experience of studying. Do you ever feel like studying is boring? What if you don't actually support the immediate outcomes of the task? Let's say you don't know what you want, or maybe you have unclear priorities. These examples all point to low value in our equation. Increasing value will help us overcome procrastination. So how do we increase value? One way is by giving yourself a reward for completing a task. For example, you can reward yourself with a healthy and tasty meal, or by hanging out with your friends, after and only after you finish your chemistry homework. If you need help with self-discipline like this, check out our self-discipline video. Alternatively, you can improve the experience of the work itself. As you progress in your medical education, the work gets more and more focused on material you actually enjoy. However, at the beginning, you may have to grind through subjects that you don't find stimulating. To improve the experience of studying, consider mixing up your study environments, or listening to great study music. If you want a taste of my own personal study music, check out the Insider email newsletter where I share some of my favorite study songs every week. You can sign up on the medschoolinsiders.com website. Number 5, use Parkinson's law to your advantage. The idea that you can complete your task at a later time can crush even the most productive individuals. Enter Parkinson's law. Parkinson's law states that work expands to fill the time allotted to it, meaning if you have only 30 minutes of work to do, but you allot 2 hours of work to do it, then you'll end up spending the entire 2 hours. As I've stated in other videos, I use this technique frequently by creating artificial deadlines that force me to get work done more efficiently. These artificial deadlines decrease delay in our motivation equation, thus decreasing the likelihood of procrastination. The trick is to not be too aggressive with your timeline, as it can lead to unnecessary stress. With time, you will get more accurate at gauging how long a task will take and how to use Parkinson's law to your advantage. Number 6, be deliberate with your study environment. We can all agree that one of the biggest killers to our productivity are distractions. Avoiding distractions through sheer willpower is unlikely to be fruitful long term. Rather, approach it prophylactically by crafting a work environment that minimizes distractions. In doing so, we're decreasing impulsivity from our motivation equation. For me, this translates to placing my phone on airplane mode, putting my Mac on Do Not Disturb, and going full screen with the work at hand. If working at home distracts you, then opt for a library or a coffee shop instead. Above all, make sure you minimize your digital distractions. I have found that any other type of distraction pales in comparison to the focus-killing nature of notifications from your phone, smartwatch, or computer. And last, number 7, understand your personality type. The issue with advice in general is that one suggestion can work wonders for one individual, but not for another. Of the previous 6 tips, I am doubtful that any of them will not work for you, but I am confident that some will work much better than others. Now, a big part of optimizing your own life, whether that's productivity or study habits, diet, exercise, or anything else, is understanding oneself. One of the tips that didn't make this list, for example, is accountability. And that's because it's highly effective for some individuals with a certain personality type, but significantly less so for others. I go over how you can determine your personality type, as well as specific strategies for each personality type, such as accountability, that you can use to your advantage in my 4 tendencies video. Link in the description below. I'd love to hear from you what other tools, tricks, or...
So that was basically a video on suggestions on what you can do to minimize procrastination. Your textbook basically talks about, let me get to it. And here you can read about the different tricks and steps. And look, here's the Pomodoro technique, which he specifically talked about in the video. And just go over this section. So let's go back to the PowerPoint. And let's go to this slide. So stay focused on what matters. So the first thing it says is to focus on values. View your activities from a perspective from an entire lifetime. It also states focus on outcomes. Managing time and getting organized are not ends in themselves. Do less. See if you can reduce or eliminate activities that contribute little to your values. Buy less. You might be able to free up your hours by doing without something. Slow down. Rushing might not be worth the added strain. Handle it now. then you don't have to add the task to your calendar or to-do list. It's okay to say no. When asked to volunteer for a project you don't want to do, graciously tell the truth up front. Remember, people, the pace of daily life can lead us to neglect the people we cherish and forget about time. Schedule downtime. One way to manage time is to periodically forget about it. So this concludes today's lesson about time. If you have any questions, you can email me, text, or call me. Remember that the assignments that need to be done are here. There's 2 assignments for this week. It is the video and the time log. And you're going to see up here in between the learning objectives and the chapter, you're going to be seeing here in between the chapter and the first written assignment, you're going to find the 2 pre-recorded videos. I had some technical issues, so this week there's going to be 2. And then you're going to see below those 2 videos the lecture quiz. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to contact me.